always
Mary,
done it.
who's sitting with?
I'm sorry.
Who's sitting with? You going to Lincoln Day?
Yes.
Did you get assigned seats or something? Did
They,
you?
they just put you on a table somewhere.
Yeah, they just put you somewhere. I'm sitting with a group. I can't tell you who it is. I just got asked. So I said, okay, so, but yes, I'll be there.
I have never sat with anybody. I was just paid for my ticket to anywhere, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna set it.
I think we may sit together.
Probably,
Once or twice.
probably, as many as I've gone to, but this year, I've never done that, but this year I'm gonna set it. Kevin Mandrell's, not his table, but all the, not a state table.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna set it as insurance table.
You bought a table, yeah.
He bought two tables.
He bought a table.
The state table and the
And
insurance
it's
table.
where I'm sitting, got a table.
So I have took a slab, and I gave one to Debbie and one to Mary Bowler, because we want her to start.
Yeah. And be seen and like, yeah.
Yeah, so I gave my tickets to them, because I didn't need them. Two of my kids, or not two of my kids, but my son and daughter-in-law are coming too, so okay, I said, let's just have them sit at the insurance table. So I always pay for mine, it's first time.
I usually do. I do, I said a popcorn.
I've never, Mary, I've never been, well, I think I was asking her, excuse me,
Let's go, go, go.
but that's the thing.
Maybe our kids.
I'm there for the food, not for the food.
Okay, friends, let's move ahead. We have a public hearing. Okay, we'll go ahead and open up our public hearing. First item on the agenda is Fund 1112, the Lit Economic Development, in the amount of $150,000. Is there any comments?
I had a question on that, but, oh, yeah, there is there. Could that money come from your special fund rather than lit?
What do you mean the special fund?
Well, you have a highway, I wrote
Oh,
down
the restricted fund.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't, we have a grant fund with that, and we have the reimbursement coming into lit. So I don't know if we should move that. We're taking the 400 from the special fund, because we're trying to decrease that, which
Yeah.
I know where you're going with that, you want to decrease that. I think we're okay on that.
Okay.
Especially with the CCMG grant just came, because I know we want to reduce that fund for the
Yeah.
state audit at the end of the year. We should be good on that.
Okay.
But B, we're getting reimbursed for that money for the 600 West stuff. We should probably keep it all in the same basket for all the monies to stay in the same
Okay.
fund.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and seek a motion to approve $150,000 from Fund 1112 and Lit Up in Economic Development. Say that 3 times fast.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Go ahead and open up the public hearing regarding Fund 1173 MVH restricted in the amount of $400,000. Anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Jim?
No.
Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion for Fund 1173 MVH restricted in the amount of $400,000.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Kent and seconded by Jim. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Okay, motion carries. We'll open up our public hearing regarding Fund 2100 for adult probation in the amount of $1,600
Just skip one.
$602.
Madam President, you skipped one.
Oh, well, we can go back.
No, I didn't.
There was two,
MVHs.
Oh, there is. I did. I marked that off too
Well,
soon. I beg your
Just go
pardon.
back. Next time. You opened
You
this.
can
It's
circle
a
back.
tough day here today, isn't it?
You opened this one
I don't
already,
think
so.
anybody slept last night.
My
I don't-
goodness. Okay, so we're again, we did skip one just for the record, and we are now on Fund 2100 for adult probation in the amount of $1,602. Is there any comment? Seeing that there is none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion regarding Fund 2100 for adult probation.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Keely and seconded by Scott Woldridge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. And thank you for keeping me on track here. We'll open up our public hearing regarding Fund 1176 MVH in the amount of $160,000.
To anticipate Jim's question, I will not be able to take that from the special either because that's for the solarization. Currently, we've got a grant for half of that to come back, and I think Miriam, we're tracking on another grant to almost get it for free. I think it might cost us $3,000 in the end, but we got to do that from, because it's not direct roadway construction, we got to pay that from the unrestricted, the normal MVH fund.
Okay.
Which I think you have a couple things to sign.
Sorry?
I think you have a couple things to sign for me on that, just FYI.
Okay.
All right, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion for Fund 1176 MVH in the amount of $160.
160,000.
Yeah, that's it.
So moved.
Maybe we need some
Second.
ventilation, open a window or something. Yeah.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hey, if anybody wants anything today, just stand up and ask for it. Please.
Scott, you're like in requisition, you know? Speaks here, I'm not waiting.
Welcome to my world. We'll open up our public hearing regarding Fund 9110, the 9-Star Community Trust Grant in the amount of $3,200. Is there any comments or anyone wanting to speak on that? Seeing that no one has presented themselves, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on Fund 9110, the 9-Star Community Trust Grant in the amount of $3,200 and entertain motions.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Robin and seconded by Mary No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign, and motion carries. We'll open up our public hearing regarding Fund 9125 Probation, Indiana Department of Corrections Grant, a negative balance of $1,797.
So that's a reduction.
That's money coming back.
of appropriate. I mean, it never happens, so I just.
So what if we don't vote on it? Do we just keep it?
We just keep the reduction.
We just
huh?
keep it.
Is there anyone here that would care to comment on that?
We do.
Well, apparently. Okay. We'll close our public hearing and entertain a motion regarding Fund 9125 Probation, Indiana Department of Corrections Grant.
We need to vote against it.
It is actually 26, it was a typo.
Mary, don't have your hair.
Vote against it.
So,
See, and that's not my fault.
Fund 9126.
It is not, because it's on the agenda one way and then on your sheet, but it is actually 6.
Do you have to
Six,
read,
okay.
open the hearing again?
Well, I guess I probably should to keep things in lawful order. Okay,
And you can put in, it's not my fault.
this is not my fault that we're on a redo. I just had to. We'll open our public hearing regarding Fund 9126 Probation, Indiana Department of Correction Grant in the amount of negative $1,797. Is there any public comment to that one?
Kent's still surprised about that.
Yeah. I might vote no. I don't know. I've never had money come back.
This one thought was gonna vote no on it.
Being that there are no
91.25,
comments,
but
we will go
yeah,
ahead and close the
26
public
will go.
hearing and take a vote on Fund 9126, the probation IODC grant, in the amount of negative $1,979.
That's 1,797.
Jesus. I did. I'm gonna
So
have to
moved.
sleep tonight.
Jim is it first?
Second on the 1,797.
Jim and Scott,
Negative 1,000.
Negative, yes.
all those in favor? Anyone opposed?
Do you need another break?
I need something. Oh, gosh, motion carries. Thank you all. And it is time for Amanda Everidge. approach at your own risk. This is not going well
Yeah.
today.
Oh, yeah.
But it hasn't been fun, that's the problem.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Hey, you too. You too. So I guess I'll just kind of a little background to why I'm here and kind of what brings us to this point, if that would be helpful.
Would be.
I guess several months ago, back in I believe December, I was approached for Hancock Health to consider taking on the mobile response team that is currently managed by Community Fairbanks Behavioral Health Center. At that time, the county, it seemed that there was interest in terminating that grant contract, moving the team to a locally managed department, and am certainly willing and very interested in entertaining that conversation. One of the things that we do struggle with is space, because we have been able to successfully hire therapy team and staff.
You're the best.
Best ever, Gary.
Best ever.
Best ever. We've been able to successfully hire and fill our offices. So while I would love to assume responsibility and support expansion of our mobile response team, we don't have the space to do so. So at the time that conversation was had, the thought was we were a recipient of the opioid settlement fund, was hopeful that we would be able to utilize that fund to switch from staffing and programming over to capital. Unfortunately was not able to do so from where that fund originated, and that was just not an appropriate allocation of that money. So the conversation kind of went back to when I was with the commissioners. The thought was, well, is there other ways that we could support the capital to get us into a new location, to allow the expansion of the therapy team, the assumption of the mobile response team, expansion of the support navigation for our justice and our community projects. So that kind of takes us to where we are today.
So,
Go ahead.
I have a question. So, the ARPA money that or the opioid and ARPA money that we have for you left, you can't use that for the expansion?
The ARPA money, yes. The opioid settlement was what we were initially looking at, that 685. So I had asked if we could utilize that, but I guess it was learned that that didn't come from ARPA, the 685.
That would have been the opioid money. And some of it would have been, it's that little portion of it, what did we decide, Sarah? There's 400 and some of the opioid money, and then the rest of the funds would be from ARPA.
I did not.
Yeah, so I
know the
what we
breakdown.
couldn't do, what I think was said was that we couldn't use bond money
Yeah.
to
Right.
do the expansion,
Right.
not the funds that we're still holding for you.
Right.
Now, I don't know about the money that possibly will be coming back. I mean, I think you can use that for your program.
Right.
But there's not a problem with using the ARPA or the opioid money for
Well-
your expansion.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, Bill apparently had to leave, but I think
He's in the hallway.
Okay, well, but I think the commissioners, felt that, the money for this being capital, if you use money that could be used for operating, that would take away from future monies for operating these programs. So I think their feeling was it'd be better to take this money from some capital only account and leave the ARPA and opioid or whatever monies that can be used for operating in the operating.
That's
good.
We've
Probably
already
a very good
committed
idea.
to
Yeah, that was
this
my
money
understanding.
we've already committed this money from that ARPA and the opioid to the hospital.
Yes, yes. My understanding, again, to Jim's point, was from the commissioners. They were like, well, if we do that toward, and just put that money toward the capital, then we don't have that going towards the staffing. So their hope was that we would be able to use fund the capital in another way. Personally, I would just, wherever it comes from, my hope is that we are able to, if we're able to secure and allocate the funds appropriately, I wanna do what's right by the funds, and the appropriate allocation. Secure the location so that we can then work towards those next steps to then support the county that they can terminate that contract and move forward.
Is this owned by the hospital,
The new building?
the building that you're talking about?
Yes, it is. So currently, I rent, three of 5 offices from, a local person, right?
Has the hospital not
The
engaged with
hospital-
you to do any of the renovation?
Well, the hospital is engaged. They are not able to commit the capital to do the renovation for this program, unfortunately. The benefit to getting into this building is it is owned by us, so that will be helpful. It was initially allocated to go to more physicians' practices and programming. If I'm able to secure this, then it'll be dedicated and it will, because my ask is to assume the whole building for the behavioral health center, and expand.
Can we ask, Bill, you were outside, but we were talking about whether or not the hospital uses their ARPA and opioid funds that they have allocated for the renovations, or it be sourced elsewhere. I don't think you were here, but I've previously expressed opposition to any kind of GO bond utilization. We don't even know for sure it's allowed, but either way, I'm very oppositional to that. Were there other capital-specific funding mechanisms you guys were talking about at the commissioners level?
For this,
Yeah.
I think GeoBond was one of those, and I think we looked into that, and the answer was that wouldn't satisfy that. So beyond that, any other special funding that we have, short of ARPA, which has all been committed, ready is in separate buckets that have been committed. We don't have any other mechanism for that, other than just something, I guess, that you'd say that would come out of your budget.
The salary committee toured the prosecutor's office when we had our last meeting, and I had not been in there since they moved over, and the conditions that they're working over there in are not great.
Where is this?
The prosecutor's office. So I did not know where the monies will be coming from to do the renovations that the prosecutor needs, and I do not want to sign off on any monies that could possibly be allocated to the prosecutor, especially when we don't even own the building.
That was out of a bond, was it
Those
not,
are our
Bill?
bonds.
So
the
that will all be
community
taken care of
corrections- Right, so just
separately.
a update to that.
Okay.
There's $10 million there for that.
In between the two, there's like 4.7, I think, unused out of each one, the 2021 and the 2022.
I just
There's
didn't want
plenty of
to
money.
attach this to something that we later wish we had the money for.
So, just, long story short, we've been able to figure out a kind of a pathway to move forward with doing projects there and underneath the requirements for the FEMA guideline, not around it, not to try to avoid it, but just to try to make it work. So it appears that these things are gonna happen in phases, and we'll be able to get those projects accomplished with the money from the GEO bond. It's just gonna take a bit longer time.
So on
So-
this matter, though, it sounds like outside of the ARPA and opioid allocation, we don't have other funding on the table for the
Yeah,
capital
and I
expenditures.
had some people express some concern that they were concerned about spending this much money on renovations for a building that's not ours.
But if they want to utilize, so I think something I had clarified with Amanda a while back was when they applied for the opioid money, it was to hire the therapists. They have gone ahead and done that on their own dime, okay? So instead of hiring more of those people, they've already hired them themselves. The original ask, I believe, was, can we use this money to create the space we need for this? Plus now we're taking on the mobile response team. And the people that they said they wanted to fund the hiring for in the first place were still hired. They've just already done that without cashing in their allocation of ARPA and opioid. Am I right on that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So the proposal here actually is, I think, to take the money from either food and beverage or economic development, and maybe half and half.
And circling back to, you have opioid money and, other funding that could possibly go towards this, that you're just now finding out?
So I knew about the opioid settlement money. It's approximately 684, 750. I had presented to the commissioners, last month, I believe, to request a reallocation from staffing to the capital, and then that's when this conversation kind of started, because we had already employed and done what we had intended, what the opioid fund was for. We're certainly willing and able to do more with a larger space, and so that took me to exploring how can I get into a larger space that will work for the long haul, so that we can continue to ensure that we're open and available to individuals throughout the Hancock County system, the justice system, in all.
And I think some of your present people in your group are the navigators, right? That
Mhm.
we are partially funding, and
Yes,
then
so with the initial
hospital
ARPA funds,
some.
we have dedicated peer recovery specialists, therapists, support navigators. I have a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. That wasn't many staff that weren't even in the original funding request, just because we know that that's a need. So to Hancock Health, they've been willing, and they are 100% supportive of everything we can do.
And this would bring all of your staff
This
into
would bring us
one.
all into one building space. Currently, we are operating out of multiple different departments, but as I mentioned, our max capacity.
So you have your staffing, this is a turn of events, you have your staffing and no place to house them all together.
Isn't that a
So-
wonderful mental health problem to
You
have?
know, that
It's
really kinda is.
different to what a majority of
Yeah.
individuals are experiencing right now.
Can I?
Yes, please, Bill.
Have the auditor expound on something that she just brought to my attention I wasn't aware?
So, and I think you just touched on the $684,750, we do have earmarked. A portion of that is ARPA, the majority of it is opioid. So, I guess, I just have a question, if you utilize this money, and it's theirs, we might just have to readjust maybe an application as to what it's gonna be used for or whatever. But, it's theirs to use, it's earmarked. But my question is, if you don't get that money back from community, are you still gonna need this to renovate the building?
Well, so the money from community, I don't know how much that is. My hope is that, we'll need to probably at this point rebuild that team, because that team is quickly disseminating. But part of those funds will be to actually staff that team, right, through 2026.
Part of the funds from coming down.
What would come back from
Okay.
community. I would use to staff through 2026, the equipment, the computers, all the things that we'll need to be able to run that department. And then we could use some of that as well for the renovation. I don't know how much they have left, so I don't know what I'm working with as far as funding from that.
Can I make a couple of quick points, Mike, Madam President?
No, of course.
So, of course, the longer we go without terminating that agreement, the more community's gonna keep using those funds. So, we've been in a holding pattern with terminating that agreement, waiting on the logistics of the situation. Normally, since the hospital owns the building, if they were bringing in a tenant in there, they would pay for that build out, and then, of course, they would get some of that back through the lease with that tenant. So we're not gonna be paying for a lease, as I understand it.
Yep, I would be able to terminate once we get through the leases that we're currently in.
But maybe, and not to put the onus on the hospital, but it seems like that build out would, be something normally that you would see a landlord, if you will, allocate their own money towards. And then, that's one thing that I would wanna raise it in today's meeting. understand the argument, hey, we want to use it for operating, we're gonna get, but some of it's gonna come, we're gonna get some back as a community, we just don't know.
We haven't had any of that either, so we haven't had any professional services group, or have you had a professional services group, give you any kind of design to say that is the amount that's needed?
Yeah.
On our build out, yes.
You have?
Yes,
Okay.
the hospital, I pulled out of my own budget
Okay.
to fund the architect and the developer to give me a quote.
Amanda, do you think there's any way, the hospital would maybe meet halfway?
I think that there is opportunity for some room within the current ARPA funding we have to maneuver some of that, yes.
Through the hospital,
Mhm.
so that the county didn't have to bear the
Do the
entire
whole thing.
burden?
Yeah, and I will say, so, because I was asked, I know when we first started this, well, what are we looking at? What is the amount? We're looking at, between, my quote was, cause it was very rough, they turned around pretty quick for me. The 503 to 628, 628,000. So the location, I'm gonna be able to do minimal. It's really a facelift and a couple of, a lot of security is where some of this is going, because it just doesn't have what it would need to be a behavioral health center.
So these funds have been specifically earmarked for them already.
Right.
So instead of you going to your lit fund, another fund, why don't we just consider going ahead and giving them this money that's already earmarked for them to do that? Does that make sense?
That would be my preference.
Yeah, mine too.
But then that's
we
going
can
to
do
shorten,
that, but-
we can do that, but it would shorten the
It'll shorten the,
operating.
Well,
So-
the operating, like I said, what that opioid money, what they proposed was hire more therapists with it. They already did it on their
Right.
own money.
Right.
So that frees that back up. They did on their own dime what they said they were gonna do, and so now this is what they were asking to do with it now, was the original question. Can we repurpose this to the renovation? And I think that that's a great plan. And as we all know, these programs aren't funded forever, so we're gonna have to figure out
That
in
was
the
my
long
next
term.
question. What happens after 26?
Right, I mean,
What do we do?
with jail navigators and everything, right? We have some more opioid settlement coming in, but it's not gonna pay for all this to go on in
So
perpetuity,
what do
so.
we do after 26, after we've done all this?
So part of me
Exactly.
getting
But-
into this larger location, the benefit is gonna be if being able to hire more staff will allow us to kind of offset some of that loss. When you're operating, at the level we are, I mean, not that we're tiny, but with 40 staff in behavioral health, it's a pretty large loss. If I can invest in peer recovery specialists that we're about to start billing for, we figure that out, working on getting Recovery Works funding, building in some of those other pieces that we've never done before, will allow us to lose a palpable level for the hospital. We're never going to break even, we're never going to turn a profit in behavioral health, and the hospital knows that. They have dedicated millions to endowments to help ensure that we have funds annually to support. Our community has been huge at donating. We're at $4.5 million there as well to continue for that longevity and sustainability. It's the now to build that hadn't been there as much. Well, I say, but the hospital still, again, we operate on a budget of close to $1 million every year, lose close to 2.5.
but I think it just makes sense to centralize the mental health activities that we have
No
going on in one place. It'll be easier to check on it. It'll be more local. I think it makes most sense is to save the operating costs for operating, but if that's not the way people want it, why? I think
Well,
the
we
best thing to
probably-
do is to
Yeah.
get it done.
We need to
one
get
way or
it
the
done,
other.
and, we would, if there's no other questions, comments, or
I do.
concerns,
I have
okay,
a question
Robin, go
because
ahead.
I haven't been in on a lot of the conversations, so.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like for you to tell me again.
Yeah.
So exactly who do you treat in this clinic that we're gonna have? Who will you be treating?
So who we treat, we within the Hancock Behavioral Health Service line, we service all individuals who live in Hancock County, those who are patients of Hancock Health, because that hits multiple counties, and then anyone involved within our justice system. Previously, it was just Hancock Health, Hancock County. However, we know within our incarcerated population, we have a number of people who got busted here but not live here, right? So we still even support them. We have individuals who are on probation that are coming out of the jail that are from Delaware County, Hendricks County. We still support them as well. So anyone that included or increased it to anyone also connected to any of our facets within the justice system. We do prevention efforts. We work with our schools. We're about to actually start doing a tobacco treatment working diversion program for kids that are caught vaping, and trying to get treatment into our schools. So prevention, intervention, postvention, reintegration into the community. And we've been able to increase to offer not just individual therapy and med management, but now we have 3 different groups that individuals are able to participate in. We'll be starting the MRT so that whatever they're doing in jail can translate in, and they have that same support and treatment group in the community.
What would you say the percentage of the people are from Hancock County? Just.
In
a
our
percentage.
offices, so Connection Center, we're looking probably close to 80%. Counseling, and when you include the Hancock Counseling and Psychiatric Services in, which I just assumed that department in June, we're closer to like that 60% range at this point. But we prioritize, so when we are full to capacity, right, and we aren't able to see certain people, the caveat is still, if they are Hancock Health, Hancock County, and Justice, they have priority appointments. We will not turn anyone away from Justice. If they're engaged, we will find a way to get them. If it's going into a group in med management, we will not turn them away.
One other point, you were asking about sustainability, which I think is really critical. And the contract for both community and Hancock required some cooperation and best efforts to work on that ahead of time, knowing that this is gonna be something that's gonna have to happen. So that might be another thing maybe to talk to the hospital about too, because that's gonna come up, and, you don't wanna get stuck not being able to have it done these next year or two to try to find a way to do
On that note, though, I mean, the hospital knew going into it that it's like the opioid money. They were gonna hire therapists. We committed in the application of the state, we didn't get the match, but we explained in there, how is this sustainable? It's sustainable because a lot of these people, the hospital will be able to bill and get reimbursed through Medicaid. And even though Medicaid rates are not good, and the hospital loses money on Medicaid rates, they were okay with that, and they were gonna keep taking that on in perpetuity. So they agreed to sustain that, what was in that opioid application, knowing that a lot of it's reimbursable, but it will still cost them money because it's not greatly reimbursable. The mobile response team, as I understand it, is another animal, and over the next couple years, we may or may not see the federal or state governments do something to make it sustainable, but you cannot bill for mobile response. And so I don't see the non-mobile response half as in as much jeopardy, because the hospital has agreed to take some loss to provide it, and there is some form of reimbursement available. Mobile response is gonna be a different animal, and we'll have to see what comes.
I'm not sold on everything yet. I would agree with maybe what Bill said about the money's already allocated, let them work with that to start with. If it's short, then they're gonna have to go back to the hospital and see if cause it's their building, not ours. I think we got a tiger by the tail here. We've done 5 million in it from ARPA and all those other things, and all that money is gonna disappear real quick, and then I don't know if we have the ability to sustain the amount of spending that seems to be happening. You know what I'm saying? In the long run, if without a bunch of new grants and a bunch of new things coming to fruition to help in the operating in the future, I'm not 100% sure that this has a lot of legs past when we run out of Biden bucks.
But-
I don't think that we would expect you guys to sustain the full amount to where we're at right now, right? What we're spending and what we've been able to do with the opioid settlement, or the ARPA money, and then what we will be able to do with the opioid settlement is to get that going. Now, to that point, so the therapist, the nurse practitioner, those are things that we anticipate assuming. The mobile response team is something, and even when we pitched, back in the day when we were even talking about mobile response, it's something where if there is a grant, we will find it, we will apply, we will do our best to get it, but that will be a space where unless something changes drastically in the next few years, there is not funding for. Our peer recovery specialists, even that we have hired and are working in the jail, we can bill Medicaid for those. So, and then the endowment to the sustainability Hancock Health, I can't speak to the other entities, but we have that endowment component that will help sustain what we're doing so that we can continue to commit and support the county in this space. The mobile response team, longevity-wise, that may be a space where we need to have conversation.
And the opioid, I was just revisiting Schedule E of the National Opioid Settlement, and it's, one of the specific uses is support the expansion of mobile response teams.
Because it's a huge push. With the 988
So there is
that's
some-
coming, the expectation is every county is going to have a mobile response team.
How about,
They're not
what is
saying
the
where that'll be
total
funded.
budget for MRT?
Not MRT, but
For
Yeah,
the mobile
mobile
response
response
team,
team.
I
Oh.
do not have all of that information specific, because I have not.
I just wonder what it might
yet.
look like in 2026 or 2027, just for that piece. you know?
Right.
Well,
I.
for the
don't
total
know.
piece, it's like 1.2 million, we've gone through that before. And all we're trying to do here is move the mobile response team, management from community to
Right.
HRH.
Does
All
that?
we're
would you
trying to do.
entertain a motion, Madam
Yes,
President?
absolutely.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow Hancock Health to redistribute as needed from services or personnel to capital, any of their ARPA or opioid dollars that remain in their budget.
Okay,
I'll second that.
it's been moved and properly seconded. Call the roll.
Scott Baldridge,
Abstain.
Kent Best,
Yes.
Cause my wife works for Hancock,
You
that's,
can't-
that's a conflict, it's documented. They know it when they come in,
Okay, Robin?
Robin Adams,
Thanks.
Yes.
Janine Gray.
Yes.
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 And do you have an approximate dollar amount we're talking about?
I do, yeah, that's that between 503 to 6.
And she has 680 something.
We have 664, 750, so what I wanna do, we've made the motion, but I wanna reach out to Greg Garitas, just make sure that we may have to redo the agreement.
Uh-huh.
And so I'll get that to you as quickly as possible. And then I just wanna remind everyone, with potential money coming back from community, that's gonna have to be reallocated, and there's gonna have to be agreements, and it has to be obligated by the end of this year.
Okay,
So
Well-
we are on a
Perfect
time
then.
crunch
Yeah.
here.
perfect timing.
That's why you get paid the big
But,
bucks.
yeah, Amanda,
Yeah.
They better
So I
be
would
sending
just
the money
need to
back.
know
That should come
the
from the
amount and that opioid, that significant amount.
Yes.
Then
Yeah,
just
we're bigger rates.
how much of that is ARPA, how much is opioid
Okay, we're all
settlement,
talking
so
at
we can
once
make
here,
sure
so.
Oh,
I
Amanda,
think maybe a call with all of us
Yeah.
would work.
Amanda, with this, are you prepared to,
Yes, sir.
So we're good, Amanda.
We are good.
'Cause-
We can make that vote.
So I
Change-
need
turn
to,
over that
what we have
contract.
to do is, we need a motion to terminate the agreement with community. The good news on that is the way that was written up, that I wrote the contract is that, right, a penalty for that, we just have to give 30 days notice. But we are gonna get pushed out another.
The commissioners need to take that vote, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but you guys could do it just as a matter of support.
Okay.
Okay.
I would
And
entertain,
that's okay with ARPA, all the ARPA regulations and everything, that since we've given it to them, we can call it back at any time, is that correct?
All right, I'll make a
I
motion.
understand it, but I know what the contract says.
Mhm.
Yeah, that we can terminate that agreement. Now, does that mean you don't have to, as you said, revise your application?
we
Well, to redistribute it, I'm sure
Yeah,
it will,
which I think is probably gonna be forthcoming.
Yeah, cause our contract only speaks to the justice navigation,
Right.
doesn't mention that.
But at this point, we wanna be able to notify community that we're changing. And give them 30 days notice, so you want us to,
I think it would be good if you did it.
Okay.
If
Oh.
you're-
In support, so the commissioners know we are in support of
Okay.
contract termination.
So
You
you
get that,
started.
Keely?
Go, Keely,
Yes,
go.
I would like to make a motion that the county council submit a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners to terminate our mobile crisis response agreement with Community and establish a new agreement with Hancock Health and request return of unexpended funds.
second.
And, so Keely made the motion, Jim seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign?
I believe I have to abstain.
And one, so motion carries 6 with 1 abstention. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you, and I will say, thank you. Since we were kind of anticipating that, I had prepared prior to our last commissioners meeting, the request for modification of those funds, so I will.
Look at you
submit
go.
that to you right now.
You put us through all of that?
You have to have somebody.
I was gonna say, initially, I thought that that's where we were going in the first place, but I
Thank
appreciate
you so much.
the
I'll call her second
conversation, the
question.
time.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
You guys have a great day.
Okay, we have the 9-Star Grant request for appropriation, Morgan Walker. Good morning.
So, I have written a grant for 9-Star. Basically, it's for client supplies, so we were granted $2,000 all in client supplies. So I'm just requesting to appropriate those. It would be fund number 9110. And then I have the account number for client supplies, which is 21151. Basically what those supplies are for, we have a lot, I'm working on building our community transition program. So those are individuals getting out of prison so that we can help reintegrate them into society, get service referrals put in, help with housing, help with jobs. A lot of them come straight from prison with a trash bag of just like things, bare minimum. So what we wanted to use these supplies for was to provide basic hygiene, basic clothing items to kind of help get them started. Provide, like non-slip shoes if they get a job in a restaurant that they might need, just to kind of help them get on their feet. So I just wanted to request to appropriate those $2,000.
I'll make a motion to allow the appropriation from the 9-Star Grant Fund 9110 to supplies line.
So we're advertising.
We just have to advertise.
Yeah,
Thumbs
no,
up.
it's a
Yeah,
thumbs
this is
up.
something different.
Right.
Thumbs up. We'll advertise for it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your patience.
Morgan, one question.
Yeah.
Have you talked to Kim Hall at Mental Health Partners
Yeah.
about some of that hygiene?
Yep.
Okay, I just wanna make sure you knew about what they give out.
She has
2,000.
some.
Yeah.
And
Okay, we were
so
just fighting
we
over
kind of have
$600,000.
an agreement to work together, but
We don't
she
need to
can
find
This is money
provide.
from the.
Everything, yeah,
So I
yeah.
wanted to make sure that we had something on
And
hand.
I-
to deliver in our office.
I just wanna make sure you knew that they have a little bit of that going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
It's a grant.
Oh, the CF1s.
It's a grant.
You can't vote. You can't vote against something like something.
All right, let's move ahead. Nicole?
Yeah.
Nicole is, she's not here today,
Oh,
so we've got, you should have the CF ones in your packet,
we
right?
do, we
Okay.
do.
Cindy, do you wanna try to go over this? Okay.
Look at the excitement on her face.
She's so happy.
All that time in Rotary's paid off.
Public speaking.
Actually, I did, do a map. Do you wanna see the map of the businesses where they are?
Sure.
I can put it up on the screen if you want to, if I can manage to make that.
Maybe we
happen.
just need
Or I can
copies
just
too,
Well,
yeah.
can you see it on the TV down there?
Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, we can
So
send
if I
it.
plug it in?
So what is this map of
I
of
want
the
a
CF
copy.
ones
The
that
four
are?
properties.
That have,
Four properties that are listed on there.
Just the.
Deb, do we only have 4 active?
No, we've only received 4, we haven't hit the deadline yet, so Nicole was just gonna come in and just kinda go over the CF ones that we've gotten in, with your approval and
Deadline like
signatures.
May 10th or May 7th?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's just,
something like
instead of
that.
trying to do them all at once, she just wanted to come in and get your signature.
That's the date I did.
I'm having a good day. It's May 7th.
It's May 7th. Yeah.
I used to have that burnt into my brain.
While she's doing that, I wanted to point out that number 1, 2, and 3 are all spec buildings that have had tenants what they're, experiencing to
Mhm.
date. And the fourth one is an owner-occupied building, which I really like,
Mhm.
the fact. And you'll see that their, numbers have grown substantially, as an owner-occupied building.
Makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can you see them?
Yes,
Is
Yes,
there a map there?
thanks.
Yes.
Okay, and is it big enough for you to see? Okay, I tried to mark those. The first one is, Bud Creek Commerce, which is, probably known to you as Al Nyer. All those business names change and everything. So on this one, it shows there are 1 of 10 years, a 5% fee, and there's only 3 employees. So when Nicole and I discussed this, we probably thought maybe that building is empty.
I was gonna say, have you verified if there's a tenant in there?
That we have not done, and so that's what I would take back to Nicole then, is that is something that you would like to have done, is to verify.
Randy told me that it probably is not occupied right now.
Probably not.
So it's
Probably.
I'd like
empty.
to see a report from Randy's
One
office
employee, I
on all
wouldn't
these.
respect
With
this.
the
We
company,
have to be super sluiced again.
with the CF ones, so
I
we
would
know
like to
exactly.
know how many of these
Yeah.
buildings there's
I
somebody
agree.
in
Sure.
and how
You
many there's
probably
not, cause
do.
I ask and nobody,
You know.
and I think we should know that.
Yeah,
How many
I
are
think that's
occupied,
something
how many
Randy's
are
office
not?
should be,
No,
supplying us.
So I know that at one point, Gary Poole had asked for Miriam to kind of look at that, so I don't know where that stands, but it's absolutely with your blessing that we could go out to those places.
That's really not what we do from our
Sure.
office, and we don't need to assume any kind of liability on that.
Okay,
But, I do think
The-
that Miriam is working on it, and I
Okay.
think that Randy also has some,
Well, Randy is, we kinda made a deal with him back on the 5% that he would respond to any requests that we have for things like this, so.
Cause you know,
He
I
would
hear
do it.
people say all the time, oh, they're half of them are empty, and I'm thinking, how do they know
So
that?
can we make a
Or
formal
they just say
request
it.
to
Sure.
economic development to
It's about
Sure.
supply
30-some%.
us
Sure.
by the
it's-
deadline date of May 10th on every building that's under abatement as to who the tenant might be or how, what percentage of the building may be vacant?
Sure, sure.
Okay,
Sure.
I made a formal request.
Okay,
What was
I'm
it?
sorry.
You had your back to me.
I made a formal request to Jim to carry to economic development to provide us by May 10th, which is the abatement deadline, on all buildings under abatement as to who the tenants are in each building and how many square feet of a building is vacant.
Fair enough.
That'd be great.
To
Does that
you and
cover
I.
everything?
That does. We put that in a motion.
Robin's a
Yeah.
representative too now,
Robin's
Oh,
gonna
on
what?
HEDC.
Okay, well, together you guys can,
So moved, right?
well,
The economy switches
yeah.
around.
Well, we missed our meeting today
I
because
guess
of
that's
the
a
change.
motion.
Okay, Mary has made that in the form of a motion, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Robin has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Okay. What is, so are we going to, what is your thought process here on Buck Creek? Wait it out till the end of, okay, we'll wait that out till May 10th.
Sure. First year, they've paid their taxes, so
Okay.
that's all we.
so please know that by them submitting this, they are meeting the statute required of
Right.
them. So they're compliant.
Mhm.
Nicole just likes to give you guys some, little heads up on what she knows about it.
But we had to
Still
vote on
need-
each
still-
one,
Still need these
no?
signed,
Yeah, we need to vote on each one.
voted and signed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And, there was a time where we talked about, well, on speculative buildings, do we or do we not require guesses? But this is, a good example where they said 0 employees and 0 salary, so anything is better. So they're technically exceeding the expectations we accepted originally with 0 employees and 0
I just
salaries.
said that, Janine, we do not want them empty, but they have to pay taxes on them.
Sure, yeah,
No matter what,
So,
That is
so why aren't we
possible.
voting on this one?
we can.
I was gonna say, what makes a difference if we find out for sure it's empty, what makes a difference to?
I don't
They've
think it does,
submitted-
they're
It's
compliant.
just information.
They're
Yeah.
compliant,
Just
so,
It's just information.
just read it, we could read it into the record that, that Buck Creek Commerce is in compliance with their CF, one.
I wanna make a comment though. If a building sits empty for a period of time and the assessor has the ability to determine what that period of time is, For myself, when I was up there, it was 2 years. So if a building sat empty for more than 2 years, they can come in and apply for economic obsolescence, meaning that the assessment will be reduced due to the fact that they are economically
Not viable.
not viable. Yeah, I was trying to come up with.
Well, we're gonna have a firestorm of those,
So
aren't we?
what we could potentially see as a building that's assessed at $10 million, all of a sudden go to $5 million.
So Matt, after we go that to our legal
If they choose to do that, and I did, when I was up there, I had 2 different buildings.
That did that? Okay, well, let's move on to number 2 here. Mount Comfort Logistics, employees increased from 24 to 32. Salaries decreased from 2.497 to 1.956. They're in years 3 and 4 of their 10-year abatement with no fee. That was before the agreements there. So,
I wanna know how you knock your staff down.
up and pay them less.
Yeah.
That's what you do,
Reverse
you pay them
inflation.
less.
So,
I'd like to know, and this will come from Randy's
but let the
office.
record reflect that they are compliant with their CF1. Moving on to number 3, Mount Comfort, this is the Ambrose, Mount Comfort LLC. They had a decrease in employees from last year's CF1 from 4,728 to 2,847. Decrease in salaries from 101 million to 89 million, and their SB1 estimated to, total employees of 30. So,
I would say they exceeded their
I
estimate.
would say that they have, even with the decrease, they've exceeded. So let the record show that they are in compliance with their CF1. Last but not least, Transport Enterprise Leasing. They've served to be good neighbors, I think, to a lot of the folks out there in that area and are always willing to speak with them. They had an increase of employees from 15 to 32, so that doubled. They were late last year. That was rectified quickly, if my memory serves me correct. They did have the 5% fee, and they're in year 2 of 10, and their salaries from 1.5 to now over $2 million. So let the record reflect that they are in compliance with their CF1. So,
Okay, we're gonna need your signature on the.
okay, very
Do we
good.
have to vote
Do
on
we have to
those?
vote?
Yeah, don't we have to vote?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the 4 CF1s as presented and authorize President Gray to sign.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Kate Keeley and seconded by Robin Louder. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy, can you,
You've got the originals, right, Cindy, for her to sign?
Do you want me to give it to you now?
Yes.
Cindy, can you stay down here for just a minute so I can ask you something after the meeting?
There's an extra set down here.
Is that a what?
An extra set,
Sheriff.
did you get a set?
Yeah,
Sheriff. Sheriff. Better have a black pen, I think.
We'll be done in just a minute.
Thank you, Cindy.
You have 5 minutes.
Are you kidding me? You can't do that.
Commissary fund expense, that's 60 seconds.
That's why I gave you
Just
5.
give you 4 extra or whatever.
Okay, Sheriff requests approval from County Council authorizing expenses from the commissary fund under IC code 36-8-10-21. Expenses related to building and equipment repairs for sheriff's office and jail. Are there any questions? Any expenses related to grounds maintenance for sheriff's office and jail? Any comments? Questions,
I
concerns?
make a motion that,
Okay,
Second.
One more.
Oh, you got something?
We got
one more.
Should we read one more and do it?
Expenses related to incentive programs for inmates. Okay, well, let's entertain a motion.
Can I include that in the motion? Can't we do you have to have a separate motion?
No, you
No.
can do it all
No,
three.
it's
It's all three.
Include that.
I'll second.
Okay. What's your name? Robin has
don't
made the
know.
motion and Mary has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Same sign.
I'll
And
abstain.
motion carried, and you're gonna abstain,
I
okay?
can't stand
Motion
it.
carries with 6 yes votes and 1 abstention by Keeley.
And we're gonna need a copy of whatever you got
Yeah,
there.
I'll get, yeah, that copy.
He can't stand it because we don't let him talk.
So I have 4 minutes left?
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, no,
Go.
no.
We had you down at 11, so I think you've got
I
like an
got all kinds
hour.
of time.
No, no, I was about to say 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm on the agenda till 11.
11 minutes over.
Broke you up.
I didn't know that's how it works, so that means I can come back at 11.
Sure, well, you can come back in a
Yeah,
minute,
you
no
can
problem.
So, I just wanted to bring up, I started last week at working with Bobby and myself and my maintenance guy, started working with ESW, which is an architectural firm, engineering firm, on this, the new storage, not storage, but service building behind the jail. There's a lot involved in that, and being able to facilitate and mechanicals and plumbing and all that piece. I know there was some talk early on about bond for that, maybe $500,000, 500,000. It's gonna be way more than that if we do what we're gonna do. And it's not, and I guess what I'm trying to accomplish here is just like we did with the jail, is not to build something for today, but to build something that'll be for the future. Things that, because a pre-engineered steel building like we did with the jail is not cheap, but it needs to last. And so as time moves on and we need to make more office space inside the jail, then we're gonna have to move files and things like that over into a place where, we can hold them and keep them. If we don't build this right the first time, then you're just gonna have to be adding on later on down the road to make some of that happen. And so I don't wanna go down this rabbit hole, I suppose, and I talked to commissioners yesterday, of trying to get something that it's not gonna be suitable for the future. And so, I don't know how the bonding piece works, I know there was 500,000 there, I think based off of what we've already talked about, we're gonna probably be somewhere in the 2 million range, because of everything. And so I don't wanna keep moving forward now if that's not gonna be a possibility, if we're gonna wait, if I need to wait until there's something different, I'll do that, but I wanna do it right, I don't wanna just kind of piecemeal it and not be able to do it the correct way, so.
Does this facility have to be at that location?
It needs to be there,
Yeah.
because that's where our tactical vehicles, that's where the mowing equipment, the service equipment, that's where all the mechanical equipment. And this building, like I said, it's being designed for futuristic programming as well. And so, if down the road, and there's a sheriff that decides, that we want to entertain, because what we're doing inside the jail with the tablets and everything, that we want to entertain some sort of a vocational mechanical thing.
Well,
A vocational body shop thing.
The only reason I said that was because I see a future where we might have to have a separate outpost on the west side of the county.
Oh, this is more about storing equipment.
Well, I understand,
Yeah.
but you store equipment
He has
one place or the
equipment
other.
there, But he uses a lot of that.
Well, I can't drive my mower from the west side of the county to
Well, $2 million to store a mower is.
Well, there's more than just a mower,
I
I'm
know.
just saying.
But I mean,
there's lots
tactical
of
equipment stuff could be stored, but I'm just looking at funding.
Yeah, and there may be a time down the road when, there again, probably won't happen for a few years, but we're gonna need a mobile response vehicle, like a radio type system, that we go to scenes and things like that. We don't have one of those now, but, there's a future for that as this county grows. So we need ability to house that particular vehicle as well. So I'm just trying to think ahead, but as I said, I don't wanna build something that's too small now and just to build it. I wanna build it right.
I think with the geo bonds that have been issued, the way I understood it was a lot of planned needs have been budgeted for there. It sounds like Bill was saying, you know, some of it's getting done a little slower than hoped, but I know we've taken on this commitment to supply radios in an ongoing fashion countywide, which is going to come from GO bonds in the future. Jim or Scott, do you know if whenever we do our next GO bond, there's been other discussion that would suggest whether or not there's room in there for something like he's talking about?
The commissioners haven't looked at that.
They haven't talked about that.
However, as Brad just said, they, discussed this yesterday, but we didn't discuss whether, we do a GO bond or how that might be funded.
I think it's important we try to figure this out, because when State Board of Accounts was here, they were not really thrilled with the fact that he had to, wasn't his fault, but he had to put his equipment in a lot of different places, and they were
Offsite.
not owned by the county, where he had to store them, and they're aware of that, and they're gonna give us time to do that, but it's something that we need to do.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, the building also has an area for large storage for evidence. We have a vehicle right now that was involved in the hit and run where the child was killed in Wilkinson. And so it's sitting outside with a tarp over it right now.
Yeah. See,
And
we need
anytime we,
that there.
yeah, and anytime we seize a vehicle, say we do a seizure on a vehicle that's involved in something, and for whatever, it goes through the court process, and that individual ends up with the vehicle back for whatever reason, or the negotiations, they get it back. If we don't provide that vehicle in the same condition that we got it, and then that causes problems as well. And
Well,
so,
all county-owned vehicles or whatever should be on county property. Unless it's a take-home vehicle. and
You're right,
I think we're talking
yeah.
about take-home vehicles.
yeah, right, you're right, and but
Yeah.
right now, based off of the current situation and stuff we have, I have to swap things in and out based off of equipment and things, and they go places that,
Yeah, we need to provide for that.
yeah.
But a storage area is different, it sounds like different than what you're talking about.
It's everything. I mean, it's one big building to do everything. I mean, it's storage, it's maintenance, it's file keeping, it's being able to do all this in one building, because it doesn't make any sense to do a little piece here, and then down the road do another little piece. I mean, if you're gonna do it and do it right.
But I
How many
mean,
square feet are you
$500,000.
estimating the building to be?
I'm sorry?
How many square feet do you estimate the building to be?
This is a 12,000 square foot building. And construction costs, based off of what I'm hearing, is anywhere from maybe 180,000 to 220,000 based off of what's in there.
That's not a real big building.
No, it's not.
Well, it's a 200 by 60, and it's a pre-engineered, metal building.
I mean, will that hold like your mowing equipment and everything?
It'll hold everything, mowing,
And could
building, trucks.
possible be classrooms in the future.
There'll be there'll be an office, there'll be a classroom in there, training for the SWAT team and stuff to go in there and be able to do it. That way they're not tracking up the main building with mud and stuff when they come in. There's a kennel that's gonna be in there, so when we need to board a dog, that we can bring it there and have a kennel. So there's multiple things that this building will actually do, but it needs to be built correctly. I just don't wanna go down, I mean, this is a long rabbit hole, just like we did with the jail.
Yeah.
And spent a lot of time doing it, but I don't wanna I got a lot of things to do, and I don't wanna be wasting time.
I'm with you on that.
Cause this cost, just this phase of the progress, and the cost of what was going on was gonna be about $37,000, is just to get the preliminary piece done, and find out design work, drawings, MEP, all these things that go into, getting it done, and so.
Talk to the commissioners?
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday? And did they send you to us then to get feedback?
I think they were generally supportive of it, and that's why.
They knew that the original was 500,000, and, they didn't, obviously, couldn't say anything beyond that, because hey, we have the 500, you were awarded that, but I just basically said, hey, it's gonna be more than that. And I know it's their responsibility to make the decision on whether it can be more than that. That fell on the council. And so, they didn't say either way. I just said, hey, I'm coming to talk to the council tomorrow to see where we're at. If we need to wait, we wait. I just don't wanna start this thing now and
Well, it's a bond if we gotta do something.
Yeah, I was gonna say-
The commissioners have to initiate the
They
bond, so
do.
we're gonna have to wait for them to make their
Yeah, that's why I was
decision on it
asking what
first.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
They have to
I don't think
know
we're sitting here
that
saying,
we-
no, don't go down that
No, but
path.
they have to know
No.
that we are
Yeah.
generally
We're in support.
supportive.
We are in support of the project, and we will help in any way we can to figure out how to pay for it.
Allocation of that GO bond.
Just get there.
If there's room.
For a new one, not
New
anything we
one.
currently have,
Yeah,
so something
there's
coming
not
up in
room
the
in there,
future.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much earmarked in the current bonds that we have, but you know, we're gonna do another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, and maybe I just need to talk to them again, if you ascertain or you agree that, hey, we need to go forward and this is kind of where the cost is gonna be and they agree with it, you know. And so I'm gonna get with ESW and say, hey, this is what we've agreed on, and it's a $2 million project or, you know, whatever. I need the scope of what that's gonna be based off of that particular price, and so they can build that. Because I can go ahead and do that now, because there is some money in that bond to get this part of it done. But if I can't go further, then there's no reason to do this. I don't wanna waste any money.
Well, I say, let's give the sheriff a thumbs up to move forward with the commissioners and show our support of the project, if you are in
Meeting with the
support.
commissioners April 30th as a joint
Yes, and
meeting.
I'll bring it up,
Might be a good time
and I'll bring it
to-
back up and get back on there, we can talk about it
and
then.
have more information as
That's
far as
perfect.
all
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Okay,
Everybody
I just
good with
wanted to
that?
kinda get a feel, cause I wanna let ESW know where we're stand, so they can kinda hold off and stand by for where we're at, so,
Put them on standby.
yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
Hurry up and wait.
all right.
That's how we roll.
I probably went over my minutes. Thanks.
Yeah, get out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved by Kent, and seconded by Mary No, that we adjourn. All those in favor?
No objection.
Aye.
What happened to Brent Eaton's?
It was struck from the record, prior to the meeting, so, mine had a line through it, so,
You didn't abstain on that?
on the agenda, it had a line. through
Mary?
it.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Scooter.
Assessor.
I think it's a good name.
Scooter?
Yeah, get your stuff. This is farmland.
I was the secretary
Okay.
for safety and
Over
liability
on the
committee.
right-hand side, that's the per acre.
Ooh, that coffee helped for that second hour of the meeting, let me tell you.
That's all basically one farm.
Well,
It's split up into parcels.
yeah, you,
Look at the difference in the assessment.
well,
That
I
is
can
going to
tell you,
be the
and
discussion
this is how I explained it to
of,
people, cause I did not come
the
from
new
farming.
building,
There's
the
good dirt
storage,
and there's bad dirt.
for lack of a better term, storage
There's good
building.
dirt and there's bad dirt.
Sheriff's
And
office,
Purdue
yeah.
does a statewide assessment of good dirt and bad dirt. So if you have Crosby, you're gonna be assessed at 1.38%. If you have MMB2,
Yeah,
I just remember this was high, it's
that's
the
okay.
lowest kind of dirt you can have, and it's 0.82, which means you can't grow crap on it. And 1.38 Crosby, and Brookston.
This is all tillable land, and I've looked at that.
And you look at a soil map, you look at
It's a difference.
It was that. You might have to get it from Mary.
I see this one's 270.
Sorry about that.
5,000 for
Here's
60
the per
acres.
We did.
acre.
My brain is fried,
difference in
obviously, it
per
wasn't
acre.
working on all cylinders. Today, thank you.
$600.
Am I the only person that noticed George Langston's disappeared?
Like,
No, he's had shoulder surgery.
it's over double.
All I can say is, it has to come back to the soil types. I mean, I would assume if you're trying to compare